Well, I've got about 42 years of experience in and around the freight and freight tech industry. I started out working at a trucking company and then got hooked up with a couple guys, and we did a startup freight brokerage and logistics company. We eventually sold that, and I kept a piece of that business that I then later sold to DAT. I was part of the DAT Freight and Analytics team for about 11 years, became president of that company, and then left when we sold it in 2004 or 5, I believe. I started my coaching and consulting practice. It was called Trans Strategy Partners. Funny, one of my first clients was truckstop.com, which competed against DAT. And so for about 6 years, I ran Truckstop as a consultant, but continued on my coaching and consulting program. Built up a nice practice. We served probably 300 different companies in some variety of ways. I coached probably several hundred executives and well over 1,000 individuals during my coaching time. Created training programs that we had well over 10,000 people either participate in those training programs over the years. And that led me to HubTech. One of my clients was Ricky Gonzalez. Ricky had a brokerage that he was wanting to merge with another company, and they hired us to facilitate the merger. And he was running his business out of Colombia, as well as his friend's business was also being run out of Colombia. So I had to come down to Colombia and help them with the merger and the integration of the teams, and was just blown away at not only the country, and it wasn't what I thought it was. It wasn't the Colombia of the Narcos shows. It was a beautiful country with beautiful people, and I fell in love with it. And I remember telling Ricky, I said, do you know how many of my clients would love to have access to this, have people that working for them out of Colombia? And that was the genesis of HubTech. Of course, I've got kind of a tech background. Ricky has a tech background. And we didn't want to just be kind of a staffing business. We wanted something different. And so we sought to provide automation along with staffing. And, maybe some of those roles they don't really need because we can provide automation. And, HubTech was born. And now, years later, it's two different companies. It's Talentek and it's Tabby Connect. And you're proud of what we've done, but it's been a kind of a long history to bring me to what is likely my final chapter in logistics, at least. Not necessarily my final chapter, period, but certainly in logistics. I think probably the biggest advice is that, the universe takes care of you, that you don't have to really worry. You show up and do your part and manage your mental state. Everything, as far as I'm concerned, is mental. Everything comes out of those thought patterns that we have, that we project into our world and our reality. And being able to control that mental state and letting the universe take care of the rest makes life easier, makes building businesses easier. And I wish I would have really understood that in the very beginning, because I would have paid a lot more attention to that. Believe it or not, it was a failure that really defined my career. Up until the time I was 40, I was always kind of the youngest executive in the room, seemed to be able to make anything successful. But I got involved in a .com, and it had great promise. It was if I look backwards, I can see that what we were building was a combination of Facebook, Angie.com, and Groupon in one local community-focused website called MyTown. And the initial MyTown we sold to Enron, believe it or not, that famous company that scammed everybody. But we started another company shortly after that, that I was heavily involved in. We were venture funded, and we got caught up in the bomb crisis of 2001, and then the final nail in the coffin was 9/11. And that business failed miserably, and I lost everything. I had about a multi-million-dollar net worth swing in about 6 months. But that defined me. I looked at that and I said, am I going to wallow in the failure, or am I going to, be like the phoenix that rises out of the ashes? And, it was a choice. And I had a lot of faith. I had a lot of faith that all of those debts could be taken care of or dismissed in some way, and approached it that way. And it took a while, but recovered and restored everything. In fact, more than what I had lost. But it was that failure that really opened me up to new ideas, and really opened me up to understand more about how success really manifests. It showed me how maybe blind ambition is not a good thing, and how ego can get in the way of good decision making. And ego not in the sense of boastfulness, but ego also in the sense of fear, because the ego lives in fear. So I think that was a tremendous defining moment for me, and it put me on a path to self-discovery. It put me on a path to understanding how reality and success works, and it's served me well over the last 20, 25 years. And I've been able to teach these principles. I've been able to coach people in these principles, and they seem to be universal. They seem to work in all businesses and all lifestyles and in all countries. And so it's exciting. It's like finding that secret formula and trying then to share it with everybody else. But I think that failure was my biggest defining moment. Teamwork is alignment, where everybody is aligned to achieve common goals. In fact, the fundamental definition of leadership is organizing a team to achieve a common goal, or a common set of goals. And so teamwork and leadership go hand in hand. I don't think you can have teamwork without leadership. Somebody has to be the organizing aspect of a team, and they all work together. And I think when everybody is aligned to achieving common goals, they're clear on those goals, they've agreed to do the work that's necessary to achieve those goals, that's when you really have not only teamwork, but high-performing teams. So I guess teamwork in a nutshell is alignment. Well, my current philosophy, and it's evolved quite a bit from when I first started working, is that everything is interconnected. Everything that we do has a ripple effect in somebody else's life, business, world, and being aware of that is the key. And so when we incorporate and understand awareness, and we elevate ourselves out of that sleep mode of just habitual doing, and bring ourselves to a level of awareness where we see why those habits are the habits that they are, and we begin to identify cause and effect, that the effect that we're experiencing is just being caused by our thought patterns. And so all of it's interconnected, and it affects each and every one of us. And so when we respect that, and we can see that what I do affects other businesses, other people's, other employees' lives, we tend to be a lot more respectful. We tend to be a lot more deliberate about what we do, and bringing awareness into it to where we can begin to really see how the ripple effect happens and where that cause was. So I think, in a nutshell, my philosophy is that Everything's interconnected. We're all connected. We're all in this together, and we have to work together, and what we do affects others. And this business, this business really affects this industry in a positive way. And when we can see that, when we can see how the choices that we make are ultimately going to create that, ripple effect within the industry, we can approach those choices with maybe a little bit more reverence, a little bit more deliberateness, and because that decision ultimately is going to affect somebody else down the line. So I guess to sum up my personal philosophy, it's really one of interconnectedness. Well, motivation fundamentally, like causing yourself to move and to act, is being able to be having enough desire for the end state, for the goal. If you don't have desire to achieve that end goal, whether it be fixing yourself breakfast, or whether it, going to work, or watching a movie, or whatever your objective is in the moment comes from desire. And so for me, motivation is all about creating enough desire, because the bigger the objective, the greater the desire. So desire is the prime mover. Desire is what motivates. Desire is the fuel in your gas tank that makes your engine go. And so what I've learned is that you've got to be able to create desire within yourself in order to be motivated. And then as a leader, you have to be able to bring and help your employee or your whoever's, on your team. You have to bring the desire to the team. Now, how do I do that? I call it building the mental brochure. Let's just say, for example, I said, hey, let's all go to Sandpoint, Idaho right now. And, never heard of Sandpoint, Idaho. It doesn't sound like maybe a place that you'd actually want to go to. And so your motivation would be low. But if I built a mental brochure for you and said, look, come to Sandpoint, Idaho. Your favorite musician is going to be playing a personal concert for you. We've got a 5-star chef lined up. There's going to be massages every day. We're staying at the Priest Lake Lodge, overlooking Priest Lake, one of the most beautiful, serene lakes in North America. The sunsets are unbelievable. I've got a private plane waiting for us. How quickly could you be motivated, right? By being able to build that mental brochure within yourself. So if you want motivation, you got to build desire. And if you're going to build desire, you've got to know how to build your mental brochures. That's true motivation. I think the first one is be clear. Be clear on what you want. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs, and I ask this question to every one of them. What ultimately do you want? And I would say that over my career, I've had maybe 2 actually be able to answer the question. Now, most people will answer the question. They'll say things like, well, I want to be successful, or I want to grow, or I want more money, or I want my employees to be happy, or I want to get out of this business, or things like that. That is not really connecting with what you truly want. Now, we kind of operate in the logistics business. And can you imagine if you dispatched a truck driver to take a load to the west? Hey, take this load west. That would make it very difficult for that truck driver to complete his mission, right? So when we say things like, I want to grow, I want to be happy, it's sort of like telling the universe, hey, take this load to the west. It really won't know where to point. And you really won't know whether you've actually ever made it. In fact, 1 degree west, you've fulfilled your objective. Getting clear on really where you want to go and what you want to do, and build it up to where it's such a vivid image with clarity, is the key. And I find that that is the missing ingredient that most entrepreneurs lack, is they really don't truly know where they want to go. I say there's another piece of advice that I'd give the entrepreneur, and that is believe in yourself. Limiting beliefs stop you from doing what you need to do. I mean, every objective is available, right? Whether you want to be a $1 million company or a $1 billion company, they're equally available to you. It's just what pathway, what road are you going to go down? And the only reason that you would stop from going to the $1 billion space is you don't believe it. You don't believe it. One good saying that I like to ask a lot is that if you believed you had $100 million of gold buried in your backyard right now, and you were given 24 hours to dig it up, what do you think you'd be doing right now? Do you think you'd be interviewing me? Probably not. You'd be digging, right? If you believed it, right? You would be digging. The gold is your objective, and it's got a lot of value to you. And so you do whatever you can to go dig. So when people don't dig, when they're not out there doing the things that they're supposed to do to reach the objective, it's not because they can't, not even because they won't. It's because they don't believe. If they believe, they dig. If you got people in your office, or you yourself, if you don't feel like you're digging, go back and alter your belief. Go back and build that desire. Go back and get clear, because there's 4 things that stop people from believing: lack of clarity, lack of confidence, lack of competency, or your collection of past experiences. Those are the things you got to go deal with in order to build your belief. I call those the 4 C's of belief. So if you're not digging, it's a belief problem. And so my advice to the entrepreneur is clarity and get rid of your limiting beliefs. Build as much belief in your objective as you possibly can so that it's easy and you've got the energy to go out and dig it up.